Welcome back to the Freedom Kickstarter podcast. Today's guest is someone I've known online for quite a long time, and we're going to dive into some sales stuff, some high ticket stuff, and all those kinds of things. So as always, I'll let the guests introduce themselves. So we've got Stu McKenzie here today. Stu, over to you. Who are you and what do you do?
Effectively everything in sales, but a few things. Basically now gone from a high ticket closer myself, so just selling things for other people, to building and managing sales teams, and then helping people transition from corporate sales or their 9 to 5 into remote or high ticket sales themselves so that they can kind of benefit from that industry as well. Those are the two main things really. All things sales, high ticket, I think is just a buzzword. It's just a fancy word, but it's just high priced stuff that they sell.
Nice. Definitely loads to get into there, but wanted to start off by talking about what's the number one thing people get wrong when they think about sales?
I think from my experience with the kind of the industries that we're looking at is people don't understand that the entire part of a conversation in sales is an objection handling process. They feel like, oh, this is just the discovery part, so just need to know information and then we'll get through, then we'll future pace, and then, oh, here's the pitch, right, now we objection handle. But it tends to cause a lot of problems, and that's generally where the entire thing just breaks down because they're not pre-handling anything, and they're not able to recognize fear and uncertainty. So typically with the industries that I work in, it's evolved around coaching, mentorship, consultative based things as well. So there's always an element of like a big tangible result by using the program or the offer. So there's always going to be that element of fear and uncertainty, and they just don't know how to handle it. And it's because they don't recognize it in the conversation, meaning they never give themselves a chance to even handle it in the first place.
Got it. So talking about objections then, what can we do to overcome those? Is that something that happens in the conversation, like at the point of sale? Is it something that happens beforehand with pre-framing, with content? What's the easiest way to get around that?
It's difficult because I still get it now where, I'll post something on my Instagram and, how someone's overcome an objection, and then someone will DM me, normally a copywriter, and be like, oh, well, if it was handled in the marketing, they wouldn't come up, which is true to an extent. But if we're asking somebody for we're asking someone to take on a big emotional decision to change today, right now, you're going to have resistance regardless of what the marketing says in some cases. So there's always going to be an element, and objections aren't typically just it's more expensive than I thought, or, the real kind of surface level type of things. It can be deep rooted in something else. Marketing can't always handle every single last drop of everything. So the easiest way is, of course, get everything handled in the marketing as much as possible. But even in the qualification, in the pre-call forms, whatever they are, you can qualify as much as you want. The way that you can eradicate it the most is when you're in the conversation, is the moment that you sense anything. And it comes with practice and actually not necessarily learning sales and sales scripts, but learning buying behaviors, even human psychology, and understanding yourself as well, because you'll notice yourself if you're ever uncertain, the way that you respond with things. So the more calls you do, the more you'll notice other people and their body language and everything else. So the moment that you notice it is you challenge it. You don't just let it slip. You challenge it. You ask them about it. You create the conversation around it early, so that when the time comes where you do pitch your product, service, your coaching, you've got less chance of it coming up. But if it does, you've already got the frame. You've already got the conversation you've already had, so you can utilize it to back up what we've spoken about. Hopefully that answers the question. It can happen beforehand, but the easiest way is have all that done and then in the conversation, notice it early.
Yeah, no, it definitely helps, I think. And I've seen this with copywriting as well, in terms of when you start out, you assume that all the objections are surface level. So all around price, around how does this work? Can you guarantee me a result? Everything like that. And then so often you dig a bit deeper and you find that it's something that is not as obvious. Yeah. It's like, obviously, individuals have their own specific objections. But I find that with anything sales copy, it actually can often boil down to, well, what will people think of me if I fail? Yeah. Or even like, if I succeed, will that change me as a person? I'm still being a bit general here because people will think about it more in terms of my partner, my kids, my colleagues, all that kind of thing. But I think the more you get into just sales, and I mean that not just like sales conversations, but copywriting, marketing, all that kind of stuff, you definitely find that it's sometimes the weirdest stuff you don't think of would be an objection is actually the thing that stops people from making that purchasing decision.
Yeah. Well, so the reason why I go into like fear and uncertainty so often is because typically everything tends to be wrapped around that. Yeah, you'll get some people who are just super logical, where it's like, well, so if I do X, I'll get Y. Makes sense. I'm in. You know what I mean? As long as you can prove it and you've got the testimony, so fine, whatever. But there's obviously the four fear. There's typically four fears. They're either fearful of the future, they're fearful of the past, they're fearful of themselves, or they're fearful of you, the one selling it. So you've got to figure out which one that is. And if you can understand which one it is, you can have a conversation around it. And it could be the fearful of the past because maybe they don't have any evidence to suggest that if they do something like this, they will get a result. Or they feel like, again, they've got no evidence and they don't feel like their partner will even support this because their partner doesn't trust because you know what I mean? So there's so many various different things. Or they've tried, they've tried mentors, they've tried programs, they've tried agencies, whatever, and they didn't work. It cost them a lot of money. So is this going to be the same? And so you've got to find ways around it, or they don't trust you, or they're scared of themselves. They don't believe that they'll commit. There's a million things that can kind of go into it, but you've just got to be able to identify it and have the intuition to have a conversation and not feel like you're being salesy. But it's like it's like in any conversation. If you're having a conversation with your friend and you notice they're a little bit down or they're a bit negative about something, you might say, "What's going on? Like, why do we think that way? Or why is that a problem?" You know what I mean? You challenge them, because that's the only way you're going to find out what's going on from a negative or a positive perspective. So it's no different. Sales is just a conversation between two adults or two human beings. To just speak to them like you would do anyone else.
Do you think we need to ask more questions in sales then? Is that something maybe people are missing and they're making too many assumptions?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, assumptions is a big one. It's not necessarily more questions. It's the vague one of you need to ask better questions, a question that moves the conversation forward rather than, so let's take fitness as an example. The amount of people I work with and we look at the conversations that they're having. You know, they'll ask, what is it they're trying to achieve? How long have they been trying to achieve it for? Well, what are you doing currently? Or I'm in the gym and I go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. What are you doing in the gym? I do a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of this. Oh, I wouldn't do that. Have you ever thought about doing this? And now you're asking questions that make no difference to the sale. You're not there to critique what they are doing. You're there to find out what the problem is. So that's just a really generic example, because you'll end up asking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions about things that don't matter. And now you're in a position where you could end up be asking hundreds of questions by the time, and now it feels like an interrogation. They're going to get bored. They're going to know what's going on. They're just not going to feel like there's any point in the conversation. So you're there to be the person that your prospect needs you to be. So you've got to ask better questions to move it forward towards obviously understanding the problem, knowing what the big outcome is, and then having them understand the cost of not doing something about it. So yeah, better questions rather than more, for sure.
It's definitely interesting because I think a lot of my job is, I wouldn't say getting people away from doing sales calls, but I know a lot of people buy into copywriting because they don't want to have to get on the phone with people. And I'll always say to them, you can absolutely make high price sales without getting on the phone with people, but most of the time it is a much more drawn out process. It takes a lot longer to do that. Like I do all my sales via email, via social media, and I do some webinars and sales pages and stuff like that through my email list. But if you said to me, you've got a day to get someone to pay you 20 grand to write their copy for the year, how would you want to do it? I'd probably pick in person as the main thing, but then it would be a phone call, and then it'd be, I'm going to write some stuff to sell them. And it's funny how I think people almost see it as like being good at copy can get them away from having to be good at sales. But I don't know about you, I kind of see them as not one and the same, but there's a big crossover that I think people are too dismissive of one or the other.
It's the thing with a sales call, it's a conversation. So you've got that instant back and forth. With copy, it's typically an ongoing, in the sense of they've probably, when they got to that sales page, they've likely seen some other stuff. So it may be technically, I don't know, call it slower in the copy, but you've probably got someone who's, I'm bought in, like I'm going to do this thing and I'm bought in right now. Whereas I think on sales calls, I'm not saying the job is to sit there and convince someone that they need to, but there is more of an element of persuasion. Like because someone could get on a call not thinking that they actually want. I get it now. I had someone the other day said at the end of the call, they said, I had no expectation of turning up to this call and giving you $5,000 today. So he had no intention of buying anything, but he gave me the money because we had a good conversation that persuaded him that he needed to take that step. Whereas by the time, if he was just going through the process of copywriting and getting to a sales page, typically probably already knew he was going to buy something by going to that. I mean, that's kind of my opinion on that. They are one and the same. They do the same thing. It's just one can typically, like, there's more of an instant thing with a sales call. It's take it or leave it there and then. Whereas with copy, I suppose they've hopefully consumed a few bits before they get to that point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's kind of like I was at a mastermind meetup the other day, and one of the speakers there runs an agency that does multi-millions every year. And he said that one of his parts of the research process for clients is, he said, I will phone every one of my clients. I'll phone their best customers and clients and have a chat with them about why they bought. And he said, it's amazing what you find out from that. He said, I never outsource that process. I will do it myself. I'll take notes and then give them to my team to plan the campaigns. But he said, when you actually have a conversation with someone, you find out so much more and you get beneath the surface. I thought it was interesting that someone who's that high up at an agency doing so well, he sees that as the most important thing. It's not making a sale because those people aren't there to buy more stuff. And like, he doesn't make any kind of ask apart from, can you tell me about your experiences? But I suppose that speaks to the point of, when you're having that back and forth with immediate feedback, it's so much easier to build rapport and to essentially get what you want from the conversation.
Yeah, I think as well, when you say there, like building rapport and everything else, with most people, or certainly for a lot of companies online, it's typically the founder making the sale. So they've come through the marketing, looking at the founder's face, on the content, everything. And then by the time they get to a call, they still feel like they've got to spend 15 minutes building rapport. The rapport's been built already. And the only way you're going to extend and build that rapport is by asking the right questions and having authority and being a leader and doing all those sorts of things. It typically breaks down slightly when you've got people that have never had their face shown on you, like sales teams or whatever else. So, but even in that instance, you still don't need to spend 20 minutes building rapport and getting someone to like you. They kind of should have a good idea before they get to, because it's the brand that they're kind of buying into. But yeah, those sorts of things of just getting that feedback, getting that immediate feedback and getting to understand like why they've purchased or anything else, it only then helps you moving forward anyway. Because if it turns out that a lot of people are saying, oh, I really wanted to join because they were very professional, or I felt like they really understood me, or they challenged me, asked questions I've never been asked before, then you know that what you're doing is working and you can develop and adapt it, or you'll know what you might need to improve on, and therefore you'll just be better at selling, whether it is copy or whether it is sales calls. It doesn't really matter.
What would be your top tips for building rapport then?
You certainly don't need to sit there and ask them about the weather and what football team they support and how many kids they've got. Like, that can all just come up in conversation. Building rapport, for me, yeah, the typical, hey Mike, how you doing? All good there? Yeah, fine, whatever. Right. Should we just get stuck into it? Like, I know you've got limited time, I've got limited time. Let's just kind of dive into what is it you're looking for help with. And then off the back of that, whenever they can give me a response, like, I'm not there to have them like me. I'm there to help them. And that's almost like the setup that I want to create. Like, this isn't about us just having friendly chit chat for as long as possible, because then I'm going to struggle to challenge you, if that makes sense. Like, if we go through, and again, this is purely from products where like there's a big decision for them to make. Maybe they need to lose 30 kilos, or maybe they're desperate to grow their business because they're struggling, or maybe it's some element of like life coaching, whatever. This isn't buying a kitchen. Do you know what I mean? You're going to struggle to get someone emotionally driven to buy a kitchen. I mean, there's still ways of doing it, but whatever. So building rapport by being able to challenge them. Like, I'm not going to, having the frame of, I'm not going to sit here and take shit answers, basically. What would that do for you if you were to be able to achieve 20 kilos? Well, I don't know. My response is going to be, well, what do you mean you don't know? Like, how can you not know how you would feel if you were to lose the weight? Surely you would feel better. Would you feel better or worse? Yeah. Well, I'd feel better. Well, if you feel better compared to what? How do you feel now? Tell me about that. And all of a sudden, you're telling them, I'm not accepting this crap answer. You're going to have to tell me more. And people struggle with that because they feel like, oh, I don't want to be pushy. You've got to. Yeah. Because if you don't, and they do buy, there can't be a disconnect between the way you are on your content and your sales and then in your coaching program, because they'll feel like they've bought into a fraud. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I suppose it's as well, I see this definitely the outside, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost feels like you get people who they embrace the friend mode too much, and so then can't push people. And then, like you say, if they do sign, you basically are just taking an order, you're not making a sale, and it sets the relationship up badly potentially, especially if it's a service or coaching. Or you get people who just go into salesman mode or salesperson mode to stay politically correct.
Don't even start on that. It's right. I'm sure we'll get onto this, but with like some of the sales training and coaching and everything that you see online now, I'll put a timestamp and a reminder remind me of Curious Tones in a minute. Yeah, like friend mode, it just puts you in a position where you are talking about everything and anything under the sun. And if they do buy that, fine, cool, great. But that better be consistent with how you are in the thing. And if you're trying to help someone lose 30 kilos, should you really be their best mate all the time? Probably not. Because if they tell you, oh, I've had a really bad week and I just haven't, okay, so what are we going to do about it then? Here's why you haven't lost any weight. This is what we need to do. Oh God, you're being a bit mean now. It's not going to work. So you need to be able to be whoever you are as a person and whoever you are as whatever it is you're delivering. You have to be that way. You have to be that way. If you're someone that likes extreme ownership and there's no bullshit, then be like that on your calls. Don't accept anything less than what you expect. But yeah, and then you've got the salesman mode side of things, and that typically comes from just blindly reading scripts and leaning too far into. Again, I've seen millions of scripts somewhere it's like, this is what to say, here's how to be. And the moment I see that, it's just like, okay, so you're playing a role now. We're actors. And using curious tones or like, be curious, lean in, be empathetic. To what? Like, I don't know what they've responded. I don't know what answer they've given me yet. I can only respond to what I get. So you already set yourself up for people to be like, I understand. Okay, so tell me. And it's like, you don't talk like that normally as a human being to another person. Yeah. It sounds fake. You sound like an idiot. You sound like you're reading a script. You've got to find the middle ground. Whoever you are as a person, be that on your sales calls, but just make sure you challenge. You have to challenge.
So do you advocate scripts and prompts and that kind of thing, or are you just completely against them?
Not against it, to be honest, because it does help you, because you need it to run, you need it to go in a particular place. So again, with the closers that we work with, or the teams that we build, we'll have a framework. And it sounds like a get out clause going, oh, don't use scripts, use frameworks. It's a list of questions, but it's in particular phases. Now, what happens with most people when they read from scripts is they kind of stop listening to what the person's saying, and they're focused on what this next question is. So they'll either miss something or kind of gloss over it, and they're going to feel like they're not being listened to, or you've missed key information, so that when you get down here, you've not covered what you needed to cover. So we have a guide of questions that we're going to ask, because, so as an example, I want to know what they need some help with. I want to know what the big outcome is, and I'll challenge what that big outcome is if I feel like they're kind of settling. I want to know what they've been doing to try and achieve that big goal currently, how long they've been doing that for, why do they think it's actually going to work, or do they need to make some changes, so on. So there's particular things I want to know, but I'm not just going to go bang, 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 bang. I'm going to listen to what they tell me. And then you can almost create, especially because most of the conversations you'll have will be very, very similar. If your marketing's done properly and you're getting the right people in, you can almost build a secondary framework based on the responses that you get, because you know what people are going to say, typically. So if they tell me this, then I can do this. So you start to build a secondary framework that helps you guide you through this one. So is it a script? I mean, you could call it one, but it is more about what their responses are. Whatever kind of response you get, the skill is then developed in what your response will be. That's how you're going to get the sale, not from those questions, but from their responses, and then how you respond to that.
So I suppose it's a mix of being proactive and reactive then. If you're too proactive, you're going to assume things that make the conversation feel forced and everything. But then if you're solely reactive, you're probably going to struggle leading the conversation, I suppose.
Yeah, so a huge thing is people leading the witness. So they'll have a script and they'll go, so tell me, what kind of problems is that causing? And they'll go, oh, just a bit of confidence maybe. And instead of saying, well, what does confidence mean to you? Because that means something different to everybody. They'll say, oh, so does that, so, when you go on holiday, do you not take your top off and they'll be like, no. Right, well, now you look like a dick. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Or they'll be like, yeah. Okay, I didn't think of that, but now, yeah, I think I am, yeah. And then you'll keep doing it throughout the call, and all of a sudden, you've painted a picture for them. They haven't painted that picture. So they're now looking at your vision for them but they're not here to buy your vision. They're here to buy theirs or get away from their vision. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, leading the witness is a big one, and it can, if you don't get the balance right, if you just stick to a script as an example, you're more likely to go down that route because you are stuck with just questions that you have to ask. Follow this script and you'll be fine. It never works that way. Never works that way.
Makes total sense. One thing I thought would be interesting to touch on is when we started, you mentioned about high ticket, and I wouldn't say seem dismissive of it, but I guess there's a lot of kind of negative connotations around it. Like what's obviously you sell higher price things and help people sell higher price things generally. What are the myths and misconceptions around high ticket then?
You know what? The only reason why I use the term high ticket in any of my marketing is just because it's what the people know the word to be, and it's. But there's nothing else to really call it. Typically, you know, high ticket is. It used to be over £1,000 or $1,000, but loads of things are over that price point now. So I've seen people say high ticket is anything above $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. Yeah, people arguing in comment sections going, actually, it's over $20,000. A few $1,000s is high ticket. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a price point. You used to get people being, oh, I'm a high ticket coach, you know, fitness coach that sold something for £2,000 and they'd call themselves a high ticket coach. It means nothing. Can't stand it, but it is what it is. Just is what it is.
And so when people want to move to that high ticket level, we'll call it, I think the way I see it, a lot of them think, oh, all I need to do is up my prices. And by upping my prices, that's going to create a higher perceived value. People are going to buy, I'll attract different clients. And there's definitely an element to that. I think higher prices say I've got confidence, and they do give that illusion that you probably do know what you're doing. But I'm guessing you're going to say there's a lot more to it than just upping your prices.
Yeah, I mean, if it was as easy as that, everyone would be charging $3,000. Like, you know, your average Tom, Dick and Harry in whatever industry would just go, you know, sod this, just charge $3,000. It'd be easy. Just stick a zero on it, we'll be fine. But you've got to, I mean, again, marketing, proof, positioning. Like, again, we'll just use fitness because it's the easiest one to go down. But if someone comes to me and says, oh yeah, I'm thinking, I really want to increase my prices. I'd love to charge 1,500 quid or £2,000. Well, if you go to their Instagram and they don't have £2,000 type transformations, you can't charge it. You know, if you've got people that have like, I'll get really good results and all the only things that you can show is people losing £7 in the first 4 weeks, it's not worth £2,000. That's £100 a month or £200 a month type results. You know, if you've got 10 plus people where it's a genuine life-changing transformation, they don't have to be shredded, ripped and bodybuilding type of thing, but you know, if someone lost 30 kilos and like now they're off the diabetic meds or whatever, like there has to be, or even a big transformation mentally, like lifestyle, just everything, it has to have a high perceived value. Losing £10, no one's paying £2,000 to lose £10. But again, on a call, if you can dig into the past as to whether they're just settling for these £10, because in reality, 5 years ago, they were £30 lighter and they could run, they could play with their kids, they could do all of these various, right now we're talking something differently. Still not going to pay you £2,000 to lose £10, but you need to figure out exactly what that high value problem is that you solve. And it's not just slapping a work with executives. Because like we were saying before, just because somebody's got money, they're even less likely just to throw money at you. So you've got to have that high perceived value. And then when you're on calls, again, authority and leadership is going to be a huge thing. Like if you cannot hold the authority, if you can't hold a frame with authority, or if you can't show that you are a leader, they aren't going to hand over large sums of money. They'll just go to the other person that charges less. So it's not the saving grace. You've got to have everything in line properly.
I think business owners and particularly coaches often forget that people who can spend large amounts of money are pretty discerning and they're good at figuring out bullshit as well. Yeah. Like, I'm the kind of person who will happily spend more money on a coaching program, you know, mastermind mentoring, even just products, things around the house, all that kind of stuff. But the minute I get a sense that someone isn't who they say they are, that's when I'm like, no, you've lost me completely there. And I think positioning comes into it a lot as well. And it's when you get people who want to charge high ticket prices, and yet on social media, you can see them, I don't know, arguing in local Facebook groups. They're like posting clips or screenshots from whatever the Daily Mail is saying about Love Island and doing all that kind of stuff. Or I don't know, they've just got all these things, that just scream like that you're not a high ticket or a high value person.
I know what you mean.
You're just missing the mark completely with that.
Again, if it was as easy as just slapping a zero or doubling your prices or whatever, like most people, and you'll have experienced this, most people are charging a bit too little. are charging less than what they should be charging. Everyone has because some people are charging, they were charging 200 quid a month in 2025, but they were charging 200 quid a month in 2020. Like, things are more expensive now. Charge some more. You know what I mean? And you should have 5 years worth more of experience. Increase your prices. Yep. Doesn't mean you can slap a zero on it, but just increase your prices. Like, you're going to have to at some point anyway. But yeah, you've then got to change as a business owner or as a coach or whatever it is that you do. If you are developing, then develop everything to do with it. Like, and all it means as well is, like, you get people going like, oh, why should you charge more? Like, you should make it accessible. No, you shouldn't. Why should it be accessible to everyone? Why? No one's ever given a good reason as to why it should be inclusive and accessible to everybody. Makes no sense. You can't, like, if that was the case, you wouldn't be able to get great results for the people that you help.
Maybe it's cliche, but there's a reason why Ferrari don't do a budget model of Ferrari.
Well, yeah, exactly, because they don't want people that aren't Ferrari people to be buying Ferraris. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't surprise me if they were kind of, in their offices turning their nose up at some of these kids making millions in crypto and buying Ferrari. It's not their brand. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I do all right, but I ain't got Ferrari money, and they don't want me driving Ferrari probably. They'd be waiting until you're a bit of higher status before you're allowed to buy one.
Well, I think it was that story that did the rounds recently of one of the, I can't remember her name, one of the influencers who slept with all those blokes had bought a Ferrari and like she'd sourced it from somewhere and done it in a certain way and whatever. And I just thought, I reckon 95% of Ferrari execs are sitting around going, they say all publicity is good publicity. That's probably not the case here.
Yeah, it's not part of the brand. It's not who they're aiming it at.
Cool. So obviously you said part of your role as well is kind of going into businesses and sorting out their sales team and that kind of thing. So I suppose first of all, typically what type of companies do you do that with? And then secondly, what does the process look like when you first go in? So
in terms of the types of businesses, so we work with a fair few, to be honest, ranging from, so there is a couple of fitness ones that we work with. There's a big, like they run lead generation, run ads and things like that for various online companies. We've got a men's sort of like self-development and business mentorship type thing. We've got an executive coaching offer that helps like C-suite executives get in front of the queue basically for the next role. All kinds, but they're all online service providers, I suppose you could call them, in the sense of whether it be coaching, consulting, agency or services. It generally tends to be where it is. And I mean, what it looks like is usually, like, let's say if they have a sales team already in place, my job will be to go in, look at all of their processes and kind of give recommendations as to where things could improve. Let's say their short rate isn't where it needs to be, or they don't have SOPs in place, or even particular KPIs. It'd be surprised how many businesses that are doing really, really well. They could be doing, 100, 200 grand a month, but there's like no SOPs in place. They don't know what targets they're working towards. It's just make some sales. So we have to put all these kind of things in place. And then it's working with that sales team to develop them. So training daily, role plays, live reps, giving them the education, setting their targets, holding reviews, and just making sure they're moving forward. And then performance-wise, we're hitting particular stretch targets, because there's no point, we've hit this little gap, we're doing well, let's go. You always want to be moving forward. And then I get the real nice job of hiring and firing as well, if that need be as well. Because again, there's a lot of businesses that kind of keep hold of people from a loyalty perspective, which is fine, and people deserve a chance. But sometimes people will have been there for like 6 to 12 months, barely done anything. There's no point for anyone. There's no point for the closer being there. They're not making any money. Go find another role. And then if they don't have a sales team, but they want us to create one, that's typically the most difficult, because you need a lot of proof and a lot of data about a lot of stuff that isn't technically there. But it would be a case of discovering if there is opportunities for it, like if they are getting enough leads in and the price point is a good enough place so that it's monetarily viable for a closer and for the business, to pay me, to pay the closer, to do all these various different things, and then go out, hire, install all of the processes we spoke about before. So it's a lot of all the boring stuff that business owners generally don't have the time for or the skill set to do either. It's time consuming being the business owner and trying to train a sales team, and you've got an emotional attachment to the outcome and a stress. I'm not on calls anymore, my sales team are, you better be making some fucking sales. It keeps you up at night. So the biggest win for me is you go away, just go away and focus on the stuff you're good at, and let me get more wrinkles and lose all my hair trying to deal with your sales team. That's typically what it tends to be. So yeah, loads of fun for me.
Nice. How often do you have to hire and fire? Like, do you find people are very coachable and trainable, or is it more just you have to, burn the boats?
No, I think so. We always give people time. To be honest, someone asked me this the other day. What is it that you look for? Is it skill or is it attitude? And to be honest, it's attitude when you speak to them, and mentality. Like, I'm finding a lot now. Like, you'll get people that think they're like, I'm the closer. Like, I'm the guy. Okay, well, you're 35%. Like, you're doing fine, but you're not the guy, are you? You know what I mean? And the one thing I'll do straight away is I'll critique or give feedback like very, very quickly from when I've met them on day one. And if they don't take it very well, then I'm making a note of that, because I need to see if they're even showing up to trainings, or if they're not, they're a problem. It doesn't matter if they're the top performer. At some point, it'll break. So I'm not saying we're going to get rid of them, but we may need a few more one-to-one chats to be like, I need you to kind of get stuck in and do the things that need to happen, because you're making this much money now, and I did 5% as an extra this. Like, why don't you want to work towards that just because you think you're better than everyone? You know what I mean? But the hiring and firing, typically, like they'll know how sales is. Like, if you're not performing, you will have to go. But we just got to set timeframes on it. The hiring side of things is actually way more difficult than the firing, because everyone says they can sell. You can do role plays with them, but role plays are fake. So the amount of times, and that's been a big learning curve on my part. Like, oh my God, they were sick at role players. And then you get them on a sales call, you watch a sales call, and you're like, they've just shit their pants. They've just shit their pants at every step. What the hell has just gone on? And it's weird as well nowadays. I held 10 interviews for a particular role, and I think about 8 of them all said the exact same things. They were following the same script, but they'd all been coached by they all learned sales from different people. So there's like a tiered system right now of the top guys that are coaching people, coaching everyone. But then you've got the little disciples that fall out of these programs who just rinse what they learned and teach them. So there's a really again, from my experience, maybe I'm just in a little bubble, but there's a real strange thing in regards to that at the moment. But yeah, hiring's difficult, because if you get it wrong, no one expects you to get it right first time every time. But if you do get it wrong, you're in the money-making vehicle of the business. So if you get it wrong, it affects the money. Yep. And no one wants to affect the money. You know what I mean? It's pressured in that sense for sure.
Who do you think does really know what they're talking about with sales? Obviously yourself, but anyone else who you've learned from, you particularly look up to? I'm never gonna sit there and say I'm the guy on the internet. But Bill Walsh has been a massive one, who actually was in OFB a long time ago. Had a huge rise in sales and has absolutely smashed it. He's like, again, whether I'm just in the bubble, but everybody you speak to wants to train with him, has been through his stuff. Irish guy, Bill Walsh, very worthwhile checking out. Jeremy Lee Minor is one of them, and I think Bill was one of his original kind of people in his sales team. Is good. I just can't stand it's very American, and I can't stand the curious tones because I find it very creepy. But you learn a lot of good stuff from him. Josh Lyons, another British guy, is a lot of scriptless selling, a lot of like inner work and personal development stuff. But again, he's an absolute legend. But the Cole Gordon stuff, I learned from Cole Gordon, and then I had access to Sam Ovens stuff again through OFB years ago. And you just pick little things up, and there's a lot of similarities right the way throughout. And like, I'll say to anyone, if you're ever going to invest in a sales program, you're not necessarily trying to take, it's like anything, you're not investing in it to take 100% of everything. Like, if you can find one thing that just gives you a bit of an edge in sales, it will make a big difference to your commissions. Like, if you discover one, like, so with Bill Walsh, is one of the major things I've learned from that is the use of analogies, which for some people listening to this will be like, well, duh, that's obvious. I'd never used them. I'd never thought about using analogies for whatever reason, but also it really properly ingrained into me the way to challenge. I've always challenged people, but being able to utilize analogies and being able to utilize, again, the whole thing of like, I'm not there to be liked. I'm not there to be a dickhead, but I'm not there to be your best friend. I'm here to help you. And that's my duty. So that was something that really got with me. And that's probably where I've seen the biggest progression as well.
from purely understanding. Oh, there's 1,000% more stuff in those programs, and I probably could have learned even more. But pay me money, learn those two things, maybe one or two other things, and I've utilized them, and that's what's made the big difference, when it comes to sales. So, but yeah, those guys are killing it right now.
Do you find there's a big difference between UK and US sales and how it's taught?
Yeah.
In a good way or bad way?
I mean, in a good way. I'm not saying anything about good or bad, but UK, I think we tend to not really lean into the US market as much, in the sense of like, it's super hypey, it can be super aggressive, it can be super bro sometimes. Like, you got your Andy Elliott. I love Andy Elliott. Like, I think he's my favourite person on the internet ever. And he does actually have some good stuff, but Jesus Christ, you don't need to be whipping your top off on a stage to get people hyped up to learn sales and screaming. I do love Andy Elliott though. So the difference between, I think in the UK, I know we always give ourselves a bad rap with like our skepticism towards things. You can sell Americans the dream. You can. They will invest heavily into the opportunity, or in the off chance that they could make it, and you can charge a lot of money for that. Not because it's wrong. It's because the American dream, it's built into them. It's a system that's built into them from a very young age. In the UK, I feel as though it's a little bit more of, yeah, but it wouldn't happen to me, or that's all well and good you saying that, but that seems far fetched. You know what I mean? Because you again speak to people like, where do you want to take your business? And like, I don't want to make millions, but I'd like to make X, Y, Z. Why wouldn't you want to make millions? I'm just trying to be realistic. Why? Okay, why isn't it realistic? And they never have an answer. I'm not saying you will earn millions, or I'm not saying I'm going to earn millions, but surely there's aspiration. You've got to have aspirations to do it. So that's probably it. American market is way more aspirational. And the UK market, I think, is a little bit more cynical or skeptical. So when it comes to the sales side of things, if I'm talking to an American, I can afford to lash more energy into the conversation. Whereas in the UK, I think if the more an energy from a perspective of talking fast, getting animated, doing all those sorts of things. Because if someone does that to me on a call, I'll be just like, calm down, man, chill out. I'm too fucking tired for this. You know what I mean? And I think we're very much like that. So yeah, that would be the difference, the aspiration versus like cynicism, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. One of the companies I used to work in, loved their program. They did very, very well. Clients tended to do well. But I did notice that the way they taught sales just didn't work as well for British people. Yeah. Part of that, I think the British audience who were then being sold to didn't like it. And also I wonder if the client as a British person was a bit like, I'm not too sure about this, because it was, as you say, it's the more embracing that dream. Like, we just don't have that in our culture, particularly unless you already spend a lot of time around Americans, which I guess we may well do even in online capacity. But if you don't, you just read that stuff, or you read a script or hear a training and just go, yeah, I don't think that's really me.
You know what though? And again, this is just from my experience in the bubble that I'm in, the people I'm talking to. I feel, and this is going to feel like ancient, I feel like the next generation of like, so like the 16 to 24-year-olds right now, they want to make money because of TikTok, because of what they're seeing on, and it's terrible. Oh, they're selling a false dream. Oh, it's apparently it's toxic. But again, on one of the offers that I'm closing on, it's about helping businesses. He's a young lad as well, actually. It's about helping businesses be more efficient with their tax. So how to structure the company properly. Do all it. It's fucking boring, but it's definitely a necessity in this kind of economy now. And the amount of people who I've been speaking to that are under 25 that run e-com stores, or are closers, or have like carpentry business, like all of these various different things. They're like aspiring to have more money and more freedom. They don't want to go to university, or they went uni was a load of bollocks. I don't want to sit in a room, be an accountant or whatever. I want to make money online. So I feel like we've got hope with those guys that the entrepreneurialism side of things hopefully is kind of seeping into that age bracket right now, and there will be more of them. So maybe there's more opportunity, there's more optimism in that. I mean, the optimism in the sense of they mostly all want to get away from the UK, but optimism that they want to, make money and grow. So whether that even makes any difference in the end, I don't know.
That was going to be my point, actually, was that they'll probably make their money, realise they don't keep that much of it, and bugger off to Dubai.
Yeah. 100%.
So the one thing that I've seen as well is that, I don't know, 8-10 years ago when I got into the online industry, you could say like book a breakthrough call, book a discovery call, and people would just do it. And it was so much easier to get someone to book a call than it would be to pay you $1,000, let's say. Now I think it's probably, in a lot of cases, it's almost easier just to get someone to give you $1,000 on a sales page or through social media than on a call. But because the market is advanced and we know that breakthrough call, discovery call, strategy session, game plan call basically means a sales call. Like, have you got any ways to get around that?
Just be transparent. I think again, with the way the market is now, it's very hard. It used to be really easy to do the bait and switch. Like you say, hey, let's just hop on a call and see if we can help you out. Give me £1,000. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I didn't think this. I thought this was just a chat. It was a chat, but now I've got you. Now I've got you. You got to give me $1,000, otherwise you're a loser. I know all your family's going to hate you. I got sold that way plenty of times and I gave me money. But yeah, I think the market just knows now. Again, market dependent, fit pros, whatever. They know what's going on. So it's almost like the conversation needs to be at a point where it is a case of, well, is this something you feel you need help with? Yeah. How about we hop on a call then? We'll actually show you how we can help you. And if we can't, we'll send you away with something. So you still got to sometimes give that little bit of, but hey, nothing to buy. Yeah. And then you can have the conversation. But there's a lot of people selling with documents and things now. So not necessarily it is a sales page, it's a Google Doc. But yeah, I think more and more people are kind of, I'm that way as well though. Like if I think I need help with something, I'll follow whoever it is I need to follow and I'll consume some of their content and I'll sit on it for not that long, but a week, 2 weeks, and I'll just try and get as much as I can, see all the proof, and then I'll go, hey Mike, struggling with this, or what's your service? I don't need a sales call for me to know whether I want to buy or not, because I'll have done all the pre-stuff. You're never going to have me follow you, you DM me, and me get on a call in that conversation. It ain't happening. I don't know fuck all about you yet. And even if I've got this problem, but your content's going to show me the problems that I've got. And then I'll go, you know what? It's probably about time I really do need to solve this. What's your service? Oh, it's this, and this, and here's all the information. It costs this much. Right, yeah, cool, let's go for it. Or it's not on the budget right now. Gives a week, gives a month, whatever, who cares? So like, I think it's hard to expect somebody else to do that. And there's a lot of businesses that I'll go into where it is literally follower ads, DMs, hey, thanks for the follow. What made you follow the page? Oh, I'm looking for fitness tips, right? Blah, 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 blah. Let's jump on a call. And they're just hoping for a 13% conversion rate from follower ads. Like, you've got to speak to 1 billion people to make this work, and whatever. Yeah, I think there's getting around it, clarity calls, breakthrough sessions. You can still call them that, so long as it is actually still positioned as like there's something on the end of this. Like it's an opportunity to maybe work with us. That's what I would say.
Well, there's a lot to be said for selling in the same way that you buy, especially if your audience are like you, which for most people I'd say is the case. And I think I've never booked a call with someone that quickly unless it's something that I knew I wanted and it's more just like a service. So it might be, like, oh, I don't think I've ever bought a kitchen, but let's say I was going to buy a kitchen. It'd be like, right, I've seen these few different places. I like the way that one works. If I got an email from them and they said, do you want to book a call? I'd do it. Yeah. But I've always just favoured transparency as well. And part of that's because I think I don't like having awkward conversations and I don't like people going, well, hold on a minute. I thought we were just having a chat and now you're trying to charge me 10K for copy. So I've just found that, as you say, saying things like, look, let's have a talk. If we get to the end of 20 minutes and I feel like I can help you, do you want to give me 5 minutes to have a chat about, what we can do in a paid capacity? I've always said, like, when I'm pitching at the end of a webinar, I might do the first, in my intro, I might well say, by the way, at the end of this, I'm going to talk to you about my new course. If you feel like you've got value from the first hour, it'd be amazing if you stick around, but there's no pressure to do that. That probably breaks a lot of sales rules, so to speak. But for me, it makes business easier because I'm not dealing with people who go, oh, I wasn't expecting that and I don't like it.
Yeah, or that webinar was a load of crap. It was just a big long sales pitch. That's what you're going to get, isn't it? But if typically with that though, because you are breaking that ice, some people who aren't even interested in buying anything will actually stay because you've just actually mentioned, like, just, I don't know if it's subconsciously or reciprocity or whatever. It's like, why am I still here for the pitch? I'm actually really interested. You know what? Well, I didn't come here to spend $1,000, but I'm going to spend $1,000 because it solves the problem. So yeah, I think, again, especially with UK, I think transparency does work. For my stuff, I don't sell them on, if they want to hop on a call, I don't sell it to them there and then. I'm like, listen, you do need to go away and figure out the numbers first. And if it makes sense, come back. Because I know I've got very strong leverage. Their problem is, it's not that it's like, if I don't solve this problem, everything's going to collapse, but it's fuck me, I can't be arsed with this problem anymore. And I'd rather somebody else come in and do it. And because you're handling the money element of it, get someone who's better than you. That just makes sense. Or DMs, I'll say, is what it is. You can have it. You can have it if you want, almost. And I think the laid back approach in that sense works. But if you were someone that needed to get clients, don't do that. Get them on calls. You have to. You haven't got the ability to do that yet.
One thing we mentioned, I think before we started actually, was talking about how a lot of people are now upping their prices because they kind of need to, really. And it'd be cool to know, like, where do you think the price point is for it warranting a sales call? Because I was in my mastermind the other day talking to someone. He said his entry-level product is a £7 ebook. And he said, I had a bloke say to me, can we have a call? Because I want to know if I should buy your book or not. It's like,
fucking blocking.
No, it's a £7 book.
Yeah.
But I still see coaches who are like, oh, £100 a month and we'll hop on a call. And it's £100 a month with no minimum commitment. I'm like, that's not a good use of anyone's time. So do you have like a specific ceiling for above this warrants a call, below this you probably shouldn't?
I think it depends on how much they need the clients. If they're making no money and they've got bills to pay, if it's over 500 quid, get them on a call. Just get them on a call. It'll take 15, 20 minutes. You need to use every weapon and tool. Weapon makes it sound dangerous. You need to use every tool you've got to close that sale. Yeah. Typically, if it's less than £1,000, if you don't have genuine authority, if it's less than £1,000, you could probably still sell it in the DM, sorry, or email, whatever. If you've got really good authority, then you could still, anywhere between £1,000 and 1,500 quid, you could probably still sell that in the DMs. And then anything over that, I think you probably are starting to lean towards where you should. Again, it all depends on the person, because I know someone that sells 2,500 quid a month via a Google Doc, but that's to people who are making good money anyway. Do you know what I mean? I think, again, using fitness as an example, under £1,000, you can do it in the DMs. You've got to have proof. Like which sounds stupid to say, but a lot of people don't. You have to have proof and social proof, and it has to be a real, like, that's where the agency is going to come from. Is like, give me this money, and this is what you're going to look like in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. For anything else, yeah, tiptoeing around it. I think less than £1,000, you can probably do it in the DMs. More than that, depending on who you are and what type of authority you've got, get them on a call. I would.
Well, I suppose in the early stages as well, a call is a really good research tool. So even if you're not going to sign someone up, or even if you're only charging 100 quid a month and people might only stay with you 2 or 3 months, ultimately, in terms of market research, if you spend 10 hours a week on calls for your first 5 or 6 weeks doing it, that's pretty good research to have about your audience.
Yeah, I think you learn a lot about yourself as well. So I think Alex Hormozy said ages ago about like however many calls you need to take before you realise you're any good. Might not have even been him, I can't remember. But like, it's like anything, you'll only become a better PT by doing more sessions. You'll only become a better copywriter by writing more copy. You'll only get better at sales by fucking selling. So yeah, if you're brand new, or it's a new venture or whatever, or it's just not doing as well, get everybody on calls and be shit until you're good. Like it's the only way you're going to do it, because if you're able to smash out a load of sales, get a load of cash in your pocket, you can start to relax a little bit and sort of go, well, I'm not getting on a call. I'm not getting on a call for 500 quid. Take it or like, not take it or leave it, but here's the thing. Do you want to buy it? But yeah, I used to, when I first got into sales, I was jumping on sales calls selling people's 30-day challenges, which were 99 quid. I was getting 25 quid a go. So you can imagine how many calls I was taking in order to actually pay me bills and put some food on the table. And then, then I moved up in the world and was selling 150 quid. Still for 25 quid commission, actually. So I didn't really negotiate that very well. But yeah, nowadays, good God, you still get people now going, oh, would you get on a call for, I tell you what, I'm not going to say the names, but one of the teams we were working with had a £3,600 product. We struggled with some of the closes. We just couldn't get it over the line. And I was like, you know what, I'll jump on. It's only about 10 calls a week. I'll jump on, I'll close them for you. So I've got a great idea. We're going to change it to 750 quid. I said, you fucking know. Because I ain't doing those calls. He's like, oh, so I'll give you 250 quid. I was like, I couldn't give a shit what you're going to give me. I'm not, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? What's the point in speaking to someone on a call that like 30 minutes blocked out your calendar for a 750 thing? Because the problem the problem they solved was such high value that should be a link pay. Like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, just got a little bit of PTSD off the back of that. So
Yeah, one of the things that I've found, only starting it more recently, but I've had it's not a strict no calls policy, but anything that's like coaching or any of my courses, I just don't tend to do calls
Yeah.
for. If someone's really insistent they want one, if it's like the coach version of a course, so it's kind of at least a couple of grand, I've started saying, look, pay me my hours consultation fee for a call. If you then sign up, I'll refund you that consultation fee. And for me, that's like, it takes away, I don't want to say resistant. No, it's resistance to getting on a call, but it takes away like any annoyance I have for getting on a call, which seems like a very first world problem. Like, oh, I'm annoyed to have to speak to someone who wants to pay me money. But like you said, you've only got so much time in the week. But for me, it's like, well, they're showing me they've got some skin in the game anyway, because that hour, I'm still going to make sure they walk away at the end of it going, that was really useful. But then also it's like, well, if some people do need a call, that's the option. It's a low risk for them.
Yeah. And you kind of call out the bluff as to whether they're serious or not. Because look at the position you're like, positioning, authority, proof, anything else you've got it. Like, you don't need that sale. You're in that position where I don't need it. I'll take it. Don't need it. So like, and again, you know what it's like with copy. You've got ask holes all over the place. They'll just ask. Or they'll go, well, can't I just do that in ChatGPT? Or can't I just do that? Like, yeah, fine, go do that then. Like, I'm not going out on a call to have a chat about random things. It's a call about working with me, and that's being able to be in that position, which is why, again, like I said before, the proof is so important. Because if you didn't have any proof and you said to someone, pay me an hour's consultancy fee, they'd be like, the fuck would I do that for? Who are you? Do you know what I mean? But it's years and years of proof and authority and everything that kind of goes with it, the people that you've worked with, the results that you've achieved. Like, if you want access to what that might look like for you, this is the only way to get it. It's as simple as that. But I mean, it's took 10 years or whatever it has to kind of get to that, that simple privilege point. It's called an overnight success, that, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah. And obviously just you have it handed you on a plate as well.
Yeah. Straight white mail. Easy money.
Love it. So we'll wrap up with the final 5 in a minute. But first of all, Stu, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best place to go?
Instagram, to be honest. I do try my hand at TikTok, but it's all the same stuff on Instagram anyway. Stu McKenzie _FPS. Really simple.
Perfect. I shall put it in the description for the video. Final 5 questions. First one, if you could gift any business, copywriting, marketing, or mindset book to someone, what would it be and why?
I would say, I think one of the best books I read, to be honest, I mean, I liked Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss. Yeah. That I felt like I got a lot from that. I don't know how much it would go into copy and marketing as such, but it's about negotiation, really, isn't it? And how you can apply it to sales. Liked it, I really enjoyed that one. My reading has gone less into those type of things and more into like the world, if that makes sense. So I'm hooked into too many rabbit holes to read more sales books.
We could probably do a separate podcast on that. I think.
If you've got 10 hours, we'll get into it.
Nice. Question number 2, nice and simple. We're going for coffee. I'm buying. What's your order?
Cortado. I'm a bit of a Cortado addict right now.
Like it. Question number 3 is, you're in charge of the internet for a day and you can get rid of one social media platform. Which one do you want to get rid of?
I would get rid of it's so hard. I think just Meta in general. Zuckerberg can go fuck himself.
Cool. That'll be the title for this episode, by the way.
Fine, cool. Biggest PR campaign in the world, by the way. He's just a chill dude that smokes barbecue meats now. He's not a lizard anymore, apparently.
Branding for you.
Yep.
Question number 4 is, you're having a dinner party, can invite any 3 people, living or dead. Who do you want to come along?
I said I wasn't sure what I would say, but got some questions to ask Epstein for sure. There's some questions to ask there. I would then stick. I see, this is hard. I was saying to you, I don't really care for like celebrity that much, really, but I know it's not necessarily about that. I'd have a chat with him. I'd have 50 Cent, but he's probably one that I've always wanted because he's just the biggest troll in the world, and I think there'd be some good stories. And then I would say, I'm struggling. Third one. I have to edit this pause out. Again, I don't care so much for people, to be honest.
I was going to say, to make it a threesome. That's
yeah, threesome with Epstein and 50 Cent. That'll go down well.
Just don't ask Jeffrey Epstein to invite the third guest.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely not. What's me? There's someone on the tip of my tongue here, and I can't think of the name. I'll keep it at that because otherwise I'll be sat here for hours.
Like it. Cool, that's fine. Yeah, we'll keep it under an hour.
Yeah.
And then final question would be, sorry, I can't mind blank then as well. Final question would be, one piece of advice you could give to someone who wants to get where you are.
Get into high ticket closing. You got to start. You've got to eat some shit in order to get to, like, you're not just going to walk into closing and start making six figures. You're going to have to eat some shit. You're going to have to enjoy it, and you're just going to have to keep going, because the opportunities will present themselves as long as you are knocking on doors. Like, all of the work that you do yesterday is what's going to get you paid today. So just, if you want to get into sales or you want to start making money online, sales is definitely the easiest route because there's barely any risk and just all of the rewards. You can pick up how to learn sales anywhere for free. You've then just got to try and find yourself a role. So just network.
Amazing. I think that's advice that's pretty much true across the board.
Yeah.
So, fantastic. Brilliant. Thanks for that, Stu. Really enjoyable,
All
mate.
good.
So appreciate you coming on. Thanks as well for watching at home. So as usual, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell, share it with anyone you know, all that kind of stuff. Leave any comments below as well. Always read and reply to those. And we shall catch you on the next episode.